videotape this. So one of the things which I wanted to ask you, just been, so you've tasted, major success back in the day, and then you had sort of rough going for a little while, and you're trying to rediscover yourself. How did you do that?
Well, let me ask you a question. So, to rediscover oneself means that you lost yourself.
No. Rediscover in a new direction.
To reinvent.
Reinvent. Sorry.
So, the reinventing process is probably innate to a serial entrepreneur. You're always continuing to invent and create. It also comes from being an artist. How you market that to the public becomes what is perceived as the reinvention. So how do I introduce, if I'm Richard Branson and I'm doing, at the time, airplanes, how do I become, this other new category that Virgin is going into? So like he went from Virgin Airlines, right, to the Virgin Music Group. And he did it in a way that it was not a reinvention, but an extension of the creativity that's known as Richard Branson. I'm doing very similar. It's not a total reinvention because music and technology go hand in hand. If you take music away from iTunes, what do you have? If you take music videos away from, MySpace, what do you have? So in my particular case, I'm actually taking that which I know very well for the last, 25 years and saying, now here's how you take content and maximize it with emerging technologies. And by the way, if that's a reinvention because of the way I'm delivering the content to you, since it's not being delivered in CD form now or traditional DVD form, to deliver it over the internet to your mobile, wireless, through broadband pipes, if that's introducing a new me, then absolutely, that's the reinvention.
I think I'm more interested in the personal aspect of it, like you. So we see this cycle in Silicon Valley all the time.
Right.
Like, one day your company is mega successful.
Right.
And then next day you're actually living with mom.
Right.
And then you make a comeback like 6 years later, like it's happened to a few people.
Right.
In the Web 1.0. Your experience was something similar too. What I'm trying to understand is what are the things you did to keep yourself going till you get to the point of Dance Jam and say, okay, I'm going to try this again. It is not what you're doing I'm interested in. It is what kept you going that I want to know.
Well, what keeps me going is spirituality, faith. Very non-business answer, but my faith in God is what actually keeps me going. Believing that creativity has been placed in me and entrepreneurship has been placed in me, and I'm able to draw from where if you don't have the God relationship in your life, it's a little different. It's then you only have to depend on yourself, and sometimes we lose faith in ourselves through our ups and downs. And so I was able to grab onto my spiritual beliefs to keep me motivated, keep creativity flowing from me, and at no point did I not believe that from album to album, from Let's Get It Started, which sold 3 million copies, the very next question is, okay, what do you do from here? How do you go from that? A lot of in music, they call it the sophomore jinx. They say that in sports, your second year, your second album, how will you, again, reinvent yourself? And I came with an album called Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em that actually quadrupled the sales of the one before that. And then the next question is, how do you do it again? And how do you reinvent yourself? So I actually did that from 1987 until 1994. So 7-8 years straight, I went through how do you make your concerts better? How do you make your music better? How do you market yourself? How do you remarket your brand? How do you keep going? So in 1996, when the first real challenge came, when I had to reinvent the entire business now, I have to restructure the entire business, I needed to go from there to my next business, my next idea, my next concept. We're actually now, 10 years removed, almost 11. And in that period of time, again, I kept my creativity and I kept my faith. And that's kind of what got me through. I didn't ever stop creating. A person who's creative never stops creating. But the challenge is, are they willing to create, one, in a public forum, or two, do they, if it's music, do you really want to record it and perform it? It's not that you don't have new songs or new dance moves or new ideas if you're a filmmaker. It's not that you don't have new ways of wanting to capture, your film, but are you willing to continue doing that and then putting it out in the public?
Right.
That's the real challenge for a lot of creative people and entrepreneurs.
But so if you had to, let's say, give advice to entrepreneurs, right, like who are facing rough times, right? We all have faced them in life. What are the three things you would tell them that they should always remember? Because we always remember the highs.
Right.
We never remember the lows. We don't think about them because that's just the Silicon Valley culture.
Right.
But what would be your advice in that situation?
Well, I think this is consistent in a lot of very successful entrepreneurs, and that is they never view what would be called the low from the inside as one does from the outside. So if you are in the lab with Einstein and he's creating all these, he went from experiment to experiments. Some worked, some didn't work. I don't think at any point when one didn't work, he was like, this is my low point. When you're a creative person, you just continue to create. And at some point, again, challenges come, but from the inside, as an entrepreneur, you should never look at it as a low. If it's viewed from the outside as a low, your low is somebody else's dream. You never know how the perspective is from the outside, but from the inside, you have to keep creating. You just keep going. If you're an entrepreneur, you keep coming up with ideas. You keep talking to smart people. You keep affiliating with smart people. Don't surround yourself. When you're at the perceived low, the worst thing you can do is surround yourself with other people who are at their perceived low. Because what happens is there's nobody to feed off of to say, let's keep moving, let's keep doing it. Because everybody is around having a pity party. You don't want to throw a pity party. You want to get around people who are still have a lot of life, have a lot of creativity. That's what I did. The reason why so many people know me in Silicon Valley since 1994, even while I was doing Too Legit to Quit and went on to the Funky Headhunter, I hung around a lot of people that were innovative. It was just out of ego-driven. I wanted to know how to get video over the internet. And so I ended up at Silicon Graphics over at SGI in 94. I ended up at Apple where some little kid was writing the code for QuickTime. How did I end up over there way back then? It was because I always thought that I wanted to do what's next and to know what's next and to be surrounded around people who are thinkers and visionaries. And I think that's real important to any entrepreneur who hits what is perceived from the outside as his low, but can be no more than a bump in the road, in a way for you to refocus, refine what you've learned, refine your skills, and keep creating and keep going forward. Keep thinking.
Thank you.